I immediately thought of the DC crash because you've got an air traffic control system that's overworked, not enough air traffic controllers, too many combined positions, and it just doesn't work.
And so, what I'm hearing from you is that you believe this was preventable.
Extremely preventable. You've got, as I understand it, the air traffic controller that was at LaGuardia, one of the busiest airports in the United States, was controlling both ground and air operations at the time. He had combined those assignments. So not only was he controlling all the aircrafts, he was making sure everybody on the ground was in everything was safe in the ground with all the traffic on the ground, either airplanes or machines, trucks, etc. How do you do that in this day and age? And shouldn't we have a better system? There was no transponder in the fire truck. I mean, if you look at like Amazon knows every truck they have, where they are every second through their GPS devices. How can you not regulate that at an airport where one mistake can be so catastrophic?
Yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling, but at the same time, then you just think about the pressure on these air traffic controllers that something minute in the grand scheme of things could lead to death.
Well, you're correct. I feel sorry for these air traffic controllers. They've been, there's thousands of them that haven't been, positions haven't been filled, and everyone says they're going to modernize the system. It's not on both parties, and it never happens. Okay. There's other systems around the world that are much better than ours, and I don't know why we lag in those things. And you've had two with the LaGuardia crash. There was so many. With the DC crash, there were so many near misses there. Okay, we were on a plane in the last week where the plane had to pull up and in Fort Myers because there was a truck on the runway. Okay, how does these things happen? Now there was fortunately enough time for the go around, but in this case, I believe the pilot was like within feet of the runway when the truck came out onto the intersection.
What do the other countries? You mentioned that there are other places that have kind of a better system than ours. What do the other countries have that we don't?
Well, they have ground surveillance, so they can actually see where everybody is. Everybody's got transponders, and they can see where everybody is before they go. Okay, and they're so. Who knows what this air traffic controller actually saw? Overbooked, overworked. Late night, probably could be tired, doing two jobs at once. And did he actually see where this truck was going to go? And when he gave him the approval.
It's just so sad. And I think, when for a company like yours, for a law firm like yours, that has dealt with so much litigation when it comes to aviation, I mean, are you like, oh my gosh, it happened again? What goes, it's just kind of, it seems like these are rare, but at the same time, I mean, we could rattle off a few things that have happened just within the last 2 years.
There's been so many of them. It's still very, very safe overall, but you do have Boeing's had issues, as you know, with their rushing through certification of their aircraft, and it caused them billions of dollars. The 737 MAX, which we were lead counsel on it for the litigation, as we represented 71 of the passengers, and so Boeing's had their troubles. The FAA's had their troubles, and now you've got the Port Authority here, having, what did they do in New York to prevent this, okay? I mean, you got to look, those guys in the truck, what were they thinking? We're going to find out this when we get the interviews, and we'll know more, okay? I mean, it's one thing to say it's okay to go, but you need to look what's coming. This airplane clearly would have been visible to them at that stage, okay?
Yeah. What more do you think needs or can be done? I mean, we've talked about the heavy burden on these air traffic controllers, but as you said, I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of different entities that play a role in preventing these types of situations. So it's not just the air traffic controllers alone. So what more do you think needs to be done to protect the flying public these days?
I think airports like LaGuardia and Reagan in Washington, D.C. are small airports geographically, and the airlines have increased their flights, and they're just over capacity. If you compare the footprint of LaGuardia to O'Hare, yesterday I was at Dallas Fort Worth. I mean, that is a huge property. Okay, you've got a tight property, and you got more and more airplanes coming in a confined space in an urban area. You need bigger airports or more airports. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, but you need bigger or more airports. Okay, it's with expanding air travel.
Yeah, we, immediately as you're saying that, in our area, you mentioned O'Hare as a comparison, but then you also think we do have a smaller airport, Midway.
We do, but I don't think Midway is anywhere as congested as LaGuardia or Reagan.
That's fair.
Okay, and I do think that, but we do have a smaller airport, and we've been fortunate there. The only occurrence, we represented the family that when the airplane left the field many years ago, when there wasn't enough protection at the end of the runway, and they came out onto 55th Street. I don't know if you recall that. The Southwest, it was a 737, and it ran over a car of people on the street.
Oh.
Okay, but there have been relatively few occurrences at Midway.
Wow. And of course, we don't want any more.
No.
Again, every time you see them, it sends chills through your body because, I mean, what do you do? I mean, what do you do? Those poor folks there at DCA on the plane, what do you do? Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, but that is really preventable because, there were helicopter routes, and the people from the airlines, the pilots, weren't trained about the helicopter routes, and they were within a couple 100 feet, so they're going to be intersecting each other, and it was just, the airline did not educate their pilots enough on that, and they knew the issue. There'd been dozens and dozens, even more near misses over the years. So these both were highly preventable occurrences.
Yeah, and so at least for the DCA one, we know that they are making some changes to that airspace, and the jury is still out for what will change as a result of what's happened at LaGuardia.
Yeah, the jury's out, but I know there'll be a push to make sure there's transponders so they could see on a screen where every truck is. I'm hoping that they don't combine positions like this again, that they have enough people so one person can concentrate on the ground traffic and one can on the incoming air traffic, okay? And I think that's, this is at 11 at night, so I guess they think there's less traffic, but less air traffic, but, it's a hard time at night. When you got lights, it's darker, and it's more difficult for the air traffic controllers. So combining the positions, I think, is a big problem, and I'm hoping they remedy that.
Well, if it saves a life, we hope so too. Thank you so much. We appreciate